Most people don't know something is wrong until it's urgent, and by that point, the options are limited. That's why I tell my clients to watch for slow creeping changes, what I call the dimmer switch effect. It's not like someone flips the light off, it's more like someone is slowly turning the brightness down one click at a time. Maybe your mom used to manage all the bills and now she's missing due dates.
Welcome to Gavels Down, Voices Up, where we flip the script on conventional legal discussions. I'm Rachel King, here to guide you through the murky waters of estate conflicts, inheritance disputes, and all of the dramas. We're not just talking about law, we're talking about how it affects your life, your rights, your future, and your money. From the courtroom to your living room, we bring you insights that matter. Dive into each episode ready to challenge, learn, and grow. Ready to change the dialogue. Let's begin. Gavels down, voices up.
Today, we're talking about one of the most emotional, complex, and misunderstood questions in elder and disability law. Is it time for a conservatorship? If you're listening to this, chances are you're a spouse, adult child, close relative, or maybe even a longtime friend who's worried about someone you love. Maybe they've been diagnosed with dementia. Maybe they've stopped taking care of themselves. Maybe they're making financial decisions that don't make sense anymore. Maybe someone else has stepped in and started influencing them, and you're scared it could lead to abuse or exploitation. Whatever the details are, you're here because something doesn't feel right, and you're wondering whether it's time to step in legally. That's what today's episode is about. I want to help you understand what a conservatorship is, when it's appropriate, how the process works, and what other options you might want to explore before you go to court. And just as importantly, I want to help you recognize the early signs that someone may need help before a crisis hits. Let's start with the basics. A conservatorship is a court process where someone asks a judge to give them legal authority to manage another adult's personal and/or financial affairs. It's a big deal. It takes away that adult's right to make certain decisions for themselves. That's why California courts don't grant conservatorships lightly. There are two main types, one for the person, called a conservatorship of the person, and one for the finances, called a conservatorship of the estate. Sometimes one person fills both roles, sometimes different people handle each part. If granted, the conservator can make decisions about the person's medical care, living situation, money, and more, depending on the powers the court gives them. But again, this isn't automatic. It's a serious restriction on someone's freedom, and it comes with legal responsibilities. So, how do you know when it's time to file for one? Let me tell you what I tell my clients. It's not about one bad decision, it's about a pattern of inability to manage daily needs, finances, or personal safety, a pattern that makes it clear the person is at real risk if no one steps in. Yet here's an example. Let's say your father, who's in his 80s, has started leaving the stove on, forgetting to take his medications, and wiring money to strangers who say they're from the IRS. You try to talk to him, but he brushes it off. He says he's fine. He's not interested in giving anyone power of attorney. He won't see a doctor. And now you're afraid he's going to get hurt or go broke. This is when we start asking, is a conservatorship the right move? You see, a lot of people don't realize that you can't get a power of attorney unless the person agrees and unless they have the mental capacity to sign one. If they've lost that capacity and they didn't do advanced planning like a living trust or healthcare directive, conservatorship might be the only legal route left. But let me pause here because this is where awareness becomes key. Most people don't know something is wrong until it's urgent, and by that point, the options are limited. That's why I tell my clients to watch for slow creeping changes, what I call the dimmer switch effect. It's not like someone flips the light off, it's more like someone is slowly turning the brightness down one click at a time. Maybe your mom used to manage all the bills and now she's missing due dates. Maybe your brother always handled his investments and now he's asking strangers for advice. Maybe your spouse, who's always been on top of things, is suddenly confused about directions or can't remember conversations you had yesterday. These aren't just quirks. These are signs that decision-making capacity may be fading. And if you wait until that light is all the way off when they've signed a fake deed or given away their bank account info, it's so much harder to protect them. So, what happens when you decide it is time? The first step in California is to file a petition with the probate court. That petition explains who the person is, why you believe they need a conservator, what powers you're asking for, and whether there are any other relatives or interested parties involved. You'll need to notify family members and potentially even publish a notice in the newspaper. The court will assign an investigator to evaluate the situation and make a recommendation. You'll also likely need a medical declaration from a doctor or psychologist who can speak to the person's capacity. And yes, the proposed conservatee, the person you're concerned about, has the right to object. They can hire a lawyer. They can contest the entire thing so it can become adversarial. In Riverside County, the wait times for hearings can vary, but you're usually looking at several weeks, if not months, to get a full hearing. In emergency cases, you can apply for temporary conservatorship, which can be granted more quickly. Let's be clear, conservatorships come with a ton of responsibility. You'll have to file reports with the court, you may need to post a bond, you could be liable for mismanaging funds, and if things change, if the person regains capacity, or if another family member contests your role, you may be pulled back into court. So is it worth it? Sometimes absolutely. Conservatorship can be life-saving, it can stop financial predators, it can get someone into a safe living situation, it can allow you to make medical decisions when no one else legally can. It can be the tool that protects your loved one when everything else has failed. But it shouldn't be your first move. I always explore alternatives with my clients first. Can we get a doctor involved to assess capacity and recommend a power of attorney while we still have time? Can we work with a mediator to bring the family together and make a joint plan? Can we use adult protective services to investigate and intervene if abuse is suspected? These are powerful tools, and often they're faster and less emotionally damaging than a full conservatorship proceeding. Here's what I want you to take away from this episode. If you're worried about someone, trust that instinct. Start by talking to them, express your concern, ask open ended questions, involve their doctor if you can, and document everything. Keep notes, dates, incidents, conversations. That record may become critical if you do need to go to court. And if you're at the point where you know the situation is unsafe, where you've tried the other options and nothing has worked, that's when it's time to call a lawyer and talk through the conservatorship process. You don't have to walk into this alone. And more importantly, you don't have to wait until it's too late. If you're facing this situation right now, or if you just want to get ahead of the curve, reach out at thelawyerking.com. My team and I are here to guide you through every step. Until next time, I'm Rachel King. If you're asking whether it's time for a conservatorship, you're already doing the most loving thing you can, paying attention.
That wraps up another episode of Gavels Down, Voices Up. If you found value in our discussion today, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs this information. Your engagement helps us grow and impact more lives. I am Rachel King. Thank you for listening and reminding you to speak up, because every voice deserves to be heard.